Inside a prison, they sit in a circle. Some are doing life. Some are just visiting. But for 4 days, they're all doing the same thing. Trying not to fall apart. This is the work. And this is important. Inside Folsom Prison, convicts meet weekly for group therapy as part of a rehabilitation program. Most are serving long sentences for violent gang-related crimes. Twice a year, members of the public are invited to join the convicts for 4 days of intensive group therapy. For 4 days, they'll work together. A few dozen men sitting in folding chairs in a concrete room. No therapists, no scripts, just honesty, pressure, and grief. They call it the work. There's no voiceover in the film, no expert commentary. The camera doesn't explain, it watches. That's what makes it powerful. You aren't told what this is, you're thrown in. We meet the men slowly. There's Chris. He works at a museum. He's looking for something to shake up his life. There's Brian. Big, guarded. He says he's here to understand his father. He says he doesn't feel much of anything anymore. There's Charles, a bartender. He's nervous, but resolute. But there's something under his gentle demeanor. The film drops us into the first circle. It's quiet at first. Then someone starts crying. Another man screams. Someone else punches the floor. It looks chaotic, but it isn't. Every man in the room has permission to go deep, to feel what he's never been allowed to feel. And the inmates, they're the ones guiding it. The structure is loose but clear. Each man gets time. The others act as mirrors, challengers, support. When someone says they're good, the group doesn't buy it. They press, they push, they get past the surface. The first session we see is from Kiki, an inmate who says he's fine. But the energy in the room shifts when he's speaking. The inmates see what's coming. They've been here before. He stands up, furious. Pain pours out. He's not yelling at them. He's yelling at ghosts, old betrayals, childhood, whatever he never got to say. They grab him, not to stop him, but to keep him from hurting himself. He folds inward. No one tells him to be a man. No one mocks him. They just let him feel it. That's the film's rhythm. Armor, then collapse. Smiles, then rupture. Silence, then grief. The first civilian we focus on is Charles. He's quieter than the rest. But when he speaks, it lands hard. His father went to prison when Charles was a child. He says that shaped everything. That absence became the foundation of who he is. Now, he says, he's a father himself, and he's terrified of failing his kids. And the inmates listen carefully. They don't compare pain. They don't say, you had it easier. They say, you're here. That's what matters. Toxic masculinity isn't a buzzword here. It's a visible system inside every man in the room. They were all taught to bury feelings, to hide fear, to mistake power for safety. But in this space, they learn that the real strength isn't dominance. It's vulnerability without shame. The inmates leading this aren't therapists. They're men who've done the work, who face their own damage. Some of them have killed. Some of them have lost everything. but they've sat in this circle for years, learning how to not pass their pain forward. That's the difference. That's what makes them leaders. They aren't healed, but they've chosen not to let the wound define them. The focus shifts to Brian. He walks in with confidence, broad-shouldered, composed, opinionated. Right away, the inmates don't like him. He talks too much, interrupts, carries himself like someone who's never been checked. They tell him directly, "You're not here to fix anyone. You're here to work on you." But Brian's not ready. He deflects. He intellectualizes. He critiques others. He tells one inmate he wouldn't have cried in that situation. There's a visible shift in the room. The temperature rises, but the inmates don't yell. They've seen this before. They see through the arrogance. They know it's just armor. They know it's insecurity, and they keep pushing. Eventually, Brian starts to crack. He speaks about his father, how emotionally absent he was, how he never showed love, and how that shaped him. Then he shouts, "In my mind, I think I'm a prince." He's not bragging, it's pain. As if he's trying to convince himself that he matters. Because in his core, he's not sure. He never felt he was enough. And then he screams and writhes as they hold him tightly. The performance drops, and all that's left is grief. The inmates don't gloat. They coach him through the process of pain. No one turns away. This is the work. As the film goes on, you feel something shift. This isn't a redemption story. There are no clear conclusions. But there's humanity, brutal, broken, honest. You see that these men were shaped by absence. Absence of love, absence of touch, absence of permission to feel. And when they're finally given the space to grieve, they take it. They scream, they fall, they cry, and then they start to rebuild. Finally, we see Chris. He's quiet at first, warm, helpful. He says he's mostly here to support others. But over time, the process gets to his core. During a moment of quiet reflection, he has a breakthrough. He mourns his happy childhood and the disconnection he now has with that boy he once was. And he thinks of a betrayal that haunts him from his father. Once, as a boy, he tried to help his father in the garage fixing cars. His father requested a tool, and Chris brought him the wrong one. His father grew frustrated and told him to go back in the house with his mother. He says this happened often. He would try to make an effort with his father, and it would be shut down. His face tightens, and then it breaks. The inmates offered a role play so that he can tell his father how much this hurt him. They support him in his vulnerability. Men whose lives are filled with violent trauma and horrible pasts. They don't judge him. They meet him at his experience and guide him to the other side of healing. They don't tell him to get up. They don't tell him to be strong. They tell him he is strong. "I'm good enough," he finally says. And for the first time in his life, he believes it. Over the course of the film, you realize that none of this is about weakness. It's about what happens when you lock pain away long enough that it becomes violence. And vulnerability is the antidote. In the final scenes, the civilians say goodbye. Some of them are stunned. Some are grateful. Some are still processing. They're not fixed, but something is unlocked. That's the film's legacy. It doesn't give you steps. It gives you truth. And once you've seen it, you can't pretend anymore. The internet is full of advice for men. Be tougher, be colder, take control, be an alpha, be a killer. But the work doesn't tell you to be anything. It shows you what it costs to never be allowed to feel, and what becomes possible when you finally do.